Hi everybody. This week we're going to be talking about the actual dining room management event. This is chapter 10 in your text, and we're actually going to split this into the two sections. I think it's a fairly important chapter. The first part is on dining room management, and the second part is on beverage management. And I think whenever you work in catering, beverage management should be taught kind of on its own because it's a rather important topic. So anyway, today we're going to talk about the day of the event, basically, and the key steps leading up to the event. So we've got the menu done, we've got the servers in line, contracts have all been signed, we've received a down payment on it. Now it's time to start putting the event into play. And I'm going to use an example of a large dinner we do, our large gala. Which is a plated meal for about 275 big donors, a rather important meal, and some of the things that we go through for that. We start about 2 weeks ahead counting plates, because first of all, you need to know what they're going to eat on. You should have, when you planned your menu, decided which plate or what style of plate or bowl or cup you were going to use. After you've done that, you can start to see what you have on hand. Some people will do it in reverse, but if you're pretty sure of your inventory, what you have on hand, it's just as easy to make your menu and then go later. So we've had a couple of staff people this last week doing nothing but counting china and counting silverware. Now, we had a situation where after salad plates, roll plates, and such, we found we didn't have enough dessert plates. So what do? Well, you've got to serve dessert. We could change the dessert on people. What we did, we talked to the client, we decided to go with a disposable plate instead. And I'm not talking about a cheap styrofoam black or white plate, but we went with a nice heavy duty crystal plastic disposable. We like that because it's one less thing we have to wash and put back in inventory. Two, we pass the cost directly on to the client, so it doesn't cost us anymore. And it's just a much easier way to go. When you do that situation, you explain to the client, we're short on plates. We could go ahead and rent other plates, but the cost on renting would be about 3 times what it would be to buy a very nice disposable. And if the client says, no, I'd rather rent, fine. The important thing is you count, you know what you have, and if you do have to get something else, make sure that you can add that into your costs that are going to go to the client, that they don't come out of your pocket. So like I said, basically for a week we've been counting plates and getting them stacked up. Very important that you clean all those, so next week, about 4 days before the event, we'll start running everything through the dish machine. Every plate's got to be clean, all the glasses have to be washed, they've got to be inspected to make sure there's no residual lipstick or stains on them. The silverware's all got to be polished. Everything has got to look just right. It's also the time to think if you have to make changes. For example, I don't have enough bowls for salad dressing, what else can I use, and those types of things. But you don't want to be doing this the day of the event, and that's a key part of this whole. You want to be doing this at least a week out. Now, a large catering company, they're going to have a running inventory. In other words, they're going to know exactly what they've got on hand of each type of dish at all times. If something breaks, they make sure they take that out of inventory. If they're doing multiple catering jobs, they're going to pull out what might be on this other job so they know what's available. And they're just simple way to do it is do a spreadsheet on your own to keep track of that. In our situation here, where we do things so infrequently, and things are getting pulled out for classes and such, we don't keep a really great list. But trust me, it would save you an immeasurable amount of time and grief to have those done. So, now I've got plates and flatware and glasses. And once again, go back to a few weeks ago when we talked about rental. Some people keep no inventory of plates and glassware and such. They rent everything. The positive side of that is obviously I don't spend a lot of money on things that are going to sit there part of the time. I don't have to clean them. I don't have to take care of them. And then when someone rents them, I actually do just pass that charge right on to my clients. The downside to that, the same reasons we have downsides to renting any equipment. I may need to make changes today for an event that's tonight. If I'm renting it, I may not be able to go to that rental company and do it. Two, if other people include that cost in their charges, you may end up being high in pricing on some of those. But if you can get away with it, anytime you don't have to spend your own money on inventory, it's a great thing. The next thing is serviceware. What are we going to serve our food in? What are we going to serve our food on? There are several interesting videos on chafing dishes. And chafing dishes are basically those large metal containers with sterno heat underneath that we put hot food in. And I've included 3 different videos from 3 different sources with this lecture. And they're actually fairly interesting on things, because there are multiple types, from disposable, which are great for certain types of events like picnics and barbecues where you're going to do them outside, all the way to chafers that cost $1,000, and everything in between. I love the disposable ones because, once again, if I'm doing an event that I'm going to do a drop-off and I don't want to have to come back, do I charge somebody a fee for going back to do cleanup, or do I just charge them a small fee and give them the disposable chafer and walk away and not have to worry about it? Personally, anytime I can just drop off and leave, that's a great thing. But chafers, there's different types of fuel to get for chafers, and that's actually covered in one of the videos. But if you see the little cans of liquid fuel or sterno, that's kind of what we're talking about. We might also use platters of all different types. Now, you can buy really nice stainless steel platters, you can buy nice china platters. They tend to get very costly. One of the things that I found to work very well in the catering business is I would go to home stores, and usually those places that were selling reclaimed items or leftover items. So, construction site finishes a house, they've got a bunch of tiles left over. They sell them to these stores, and then they sell to the public. What I do is I go buy these tiles that might be 12 by 12 inch square, or 16 by 16, or even bigger, and I buy those for a couple dollars, and they make great platters to present food on. I've also gone to these types of stores and I bought big pieces of marble or big pieces of granite that have been left over when someone builds a counter. They've got these odd shaped pieces left over, or they put a bathroom in with a granite bathroom. I've bought those for about $10. I take a hammer, I chip the edges of them off and make them look kind of funky and irregular. And what you would buy from a food service dealer for about $300, I get for about $10. And it looks great for food presentation. So you can go the traditional route, but usually when you're starting out in catering, money is not exactly flowing, so you find ways to do things much more inexpensively. I'm a big fan of the home marble and the home repair place. There's some great videos online that you can look up and see some alternate sources. Say you want to do a kids party and you're going to do a candy buffet, and you could use like mason jars or things like that, or toys would be great. Toy trucks. Say imagine you've got a kid's birthday party and you do toy dump trucks, and each little dump truck is filled with different types of candy, and you make a big mountain and here are the little trucks going around and there's chocolate flowing over the top. You get the idea. But sometimes being fun like that will set you apart as a caterer, and it doesn't have to be very expensive. Next, linens. And we've talked about linens before. We've talked about the issue of, do I purchase linens, do I rent linens? The important thing from an event management standpoint, and once again remember, this is the day of. First of all, we should have already ordered our linens, or if we have them on stock, we should have already made sure they're washed and steamed. If you keep linens on your own, they will get wrinkled if you keep them stored for a long period of time folded up. So buying a commercial steamer that you can steam these things flat is not a bad idea. They're not that expensive and anybody can use them. But the day before the event, you make sure you have enough linens. You make sure they're in the proper shape. We had an event a couple years ago where we ordered the linens in, everything we thought was fine, but then the event changed a little bit in numbers and we brought out a bunch of tables that we didn't have proper linens for. And that always makes it exciting. The reason I tell you that is I always order extra linens. You never know when they're going to add another table. And if you are an off-premise caterer, in other words, you don't have anything else around you because you're at their location, and they want to add another 6 tables for last-minute additions, you better have a way to get linens. And so always order extra linens. Work that into the price. And I say the price because you're going to have to rent these linens. So you're going to charge the rental fee, and you might want to charge an upcharge of $1 or $2 or more per linen. Now, if I use my own linens here, I'm still going to charge a linen rental fee. And the reason that's simple. I've got to store them, so we have storage cost. I've got to clean them and take care of them, so I've got labor costs there. So no matter what, somebody's going to pay for these. There is no such thing as free. Now, linens can be very expensive, just like Schaefer's. Linens can be incredibly expensive. I like something that's kind of middle of the road, something that is very washable, something you don't have to iron. And so some type of cotton polyester blend is a great thing. Now you may do events, we go back once again to talk about like barbecues and kids party and things like that. Disposable table covers, which are great, because once again, anything you can take, charge somebody for, leave and walk away and not have to go back and get, is a great thing. It doesn't take your storage space up, you made a little money on it, and it served a purpose. So I've seen people do everything from buy large rolls of butcher block paper that they will literally just spread down on a table for banquets and such, for picnics, crab boils, that type of thing, to buying those kind of cheesy plastic linens and putting over a table. It really depends on your market, it depends on your client, it depends on the event. Next thing is make sure you've packed properly, all right? And to do that, you're going to make a packing ticket. So we've done this a lot, especially when we do some of our off-site demos, for example. We've got a set list of everything we want to take with us, all right? We've sat down weeks before, and everything we could possibly need goes on this list. And then when we pack, we check everything off. The other nice reason to have that list is when we come back in after we've done the event, we recheck everything as we put it in the dish room to wash it and put away. Now we've got to check and balance on, did we bring our items back with us? How many times have you gone to a place, you've done something, you leave it there, and then you never see it again? Well, because of the cost of commercial equipment, we can't afford to do that. So we want to make sure we bring it back. So an event sheet for the equipment is crucial. Even if you're going to do an on-site event, you still want to list down everything that needs to be pulled, washed, and ready to go. You should also have an event sheet of procedures, who's going to do what, when are they going to do it, how much are they going to do it. Think of a standardized recipe. It's going to say, how are we doing it, how much are we going to make, who's going to do it, all those things. If you want to be very particular, you can even put times by that. Okay? We start about a week out on big events. Go back to the gala example. A week out, we start doing something. And that way, it doesn't seem so much like the day of. If you're going to be a commercial caterer, you've got to learn to do things in stages and do certain things in advance. One of the videos posted is about a chef who's in the catering business and talks about how he's learned to do things early. Now, that also has a play into the menu, of course, you come up with. Because if you're going to do specialize in soufflés, it's going to be pretty hard for you to do a lot of things early, all right? So you need to plan your menu out to give you the time to do things in a proper way. And that means having extra time. So a week ahead, we're going to plan out exactly what we're going to do. So when it hits the day of the event, I've got a sheet, and I'm just going to start marking down what we've done and what we need to do. It makes things so much easier. Anytime you can have a list, you're better off. Now, once you run through the event, you should have the same type of thing for your cleanup, your breakdown, and things like that, a checklist. A lot of times you're going to be judged by your clientele by not just how you do things or the price of things, but how you leave things, all right? Did you mess up, leave the room dirty? Did you leave the kitchen dirty? Did you clean up after yourselves? That type of thing. You know, a real professional is going to clean up after themselves, and it's going to be as important to them as the rest of the event. So I hope that you keep that in mind. So that's basically just some small bits about the day of the event. Be sure and look at the video that we've got up about planning ahead, because it's one of the most important things. Even if you don't do a catering, but you do a regular restaurant, planning ahead and making a list is probably one of the most important things you can do. That's it for this week, and I'll see you here in a bit. Bye.